welcome to everyone on behalf of City Legal. Thank you for joining us this morning, whether you're joining online from whatever location this morning, or whether you're with us in person at the Sydney Mechanics School of Arts, and that's our last location, our last place time to meet here in person this term, and it's been a very much appreciated location. For everyone, you're all very welcome. My name's Ian Davidson and I'm a barrister, and I work next door to the Law Society building where our next talk in a fortnight will be. And the City Legal community exists to consider the bigger questions of life with suits and city workers, whether or not wearing suits, and in suburbs and cities around Australia. Now, if you're new to City Legal, as I can see some here in person are, we want to extend a special welcome. Format is a brief talk followed by a question and answer session, and you can ask questions at any time. There's blank pieces of paper in the outlines, or by texting your questions to the number on your screen, or using the sophisticated, at least for me, Slido link on your screen. And if at home you want to use that, you can use Slido. You can use that link to move questions up the hierarchy, and then somebody will, Todd will provide them to me at the end of the session. And you can, so you've got that facility, you can vote up other questions. Now, we aim to finish by 8:20. And I introduce our speaker this morning. Again, we're privileged to have Dr. Sam Chan giving the second of his 3 talks on REBOOT. So welcome again, Sam. Sam, your series is dealing with the question, when it seems we're stuck in an endless loop of bad news, how can we find the reboot many of us desperately crave? Well, when I think of a reboot, I get very anxious about what we'll do to my computer and existing programs. We might need a reboot, but do we really crave it?
Oh, well, I think every year we think, okay, this year would be different. This year I'll get my life in order, and every year ends the same, like we didn't go anywhere. So that's what the series is about. How can we reboot?
All right. Now, look, our own very Peter Wrench on Monday's email about today said, my family think I'm crazy, but I really like tonic water just by itself, or maybe with some ice. Now, Pete, it's not just your family who find that crazy. Some of you will know that David Robinson, who's a future speaker, would prefer a bracing scotch without tonic water or anything other than some pure water. But Pete also wondered how many of us are in need of a bracing tonic to boost our flagging sense of security. Sam, what do you find a bracing tonic?
Oh, well, when I go to a pub, my wife drinks tonic and lime, but with no gin or vodka. And it's because, did you know 1 in 2 Asians don't have the enzyme that breaks down alcohol? So 1 in 2 Asians can't drink alcohol. So if you, like me, marry an Asian, you have a 1 in 2 chance of marrying a designated driver.
That's right. I've managed to marry a designated driver because she designates that she wants to drive, so that's very helpful. Now, Sam's got us to read a passage which should be on the screen for those at home or in your booklet, and I'll just read that before Sam speaks to us. And this is at the home of Martha and Mary. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Take it away, Sam.
Do you remember many years ago, it was so easy to listen to music in your car. All you had to do was turn on the radio. But these days, it's so complicated because now the music comes from your phone and you have to beg your phone to talk to the stereo. Please pair up. And just when you get the two to finally work, that's when my wife jumps in the car and her phone kicks off my phone off the stereo. And now we're arguing over whose phone we're listening to. This is your phone. No, it's your phone. No, this is your phone. So, and then just when we finally kick off her phone from the stereo, she'll make a phone call and her phone would jump back on. And now we're all listening to the phone call on her stereo. And you think, oh, when did life get so hard? And all of life has got hard. Working from home, family life, health issues. We just had a pandemic. All of life has got stressful. So no wonder we are stressed. So our question today is this: how can I find freedom from anxiety? And this is coming in the form of a 20-minute talk from me now, followed by question and answer from you guys. And I gave a very similar talk on this last year at Legal, this time last year, but even I can't remember what I said. So I think it's okay. So how can I find freedom from anxiety? And it's a great question because right now, anxiety and mental health issues, they are at disproportionate highs in the Western world. They are at epidemic highs right now. The number one reason why we see a GP in Australia now is for stress, anxiety, and depression. 10 years ago, it was for the common cold, but now it's for mental health. So it's at epidemic highs. It's at disproportionate highs. And it's also not quite easy to work out why things are so high, because if you could pick any time to be alive, it would be right here, right now in Australia. We own more things, we live longer, we have free Wi-Fi in McDonald's, but somehow we're more stressed than ever before. So how can we find freedom from anxiety? Well, it's good to think of mental fitness as a spectrum, as a tank where we go from empty to full. Mental fitness isn't this binary thing where we either have it or we don't have it, we're sick or we're well. It's more a spectrum. And just like physical fitness is a spectrum, and just like physical fitness, even though we're fit, we can still break down and get injured. Mental fitness is the same. Even though our mental fitness tank is full, we can still break down and get unwell. But if we can keep our tanks full, it's less likely we will break down. So in the first half of this talk, let's look at this question. What are things that will empty my mental fitness tank and make it more likely that I will break down? And here I suggest at least 3 things. The first thing that will empty our mental fitness tank is this. We live in a culture of meritocracy and perfectionism. We live in a culture of meritocracy and perfectionism. Well, what do I mean by this? Well, if you've heard me here before, you know that many years ago, I ran in the Sydney Marathon. And my tactics were, I will start at the back because it's way more fun to pass people than to be passed by people. So I started right at the back, but at the 10-minute mark, when we hit the botanical gardens, I thought, oh, you know what? I think I have time to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet and I came out and there was no one around me. And a race official ran up to me. He saw the number on my shirt and he said, are you in the marathon? I said, yes, I am in the Sydney Marathon. And I said to him, am I last? He said, you are last. You are dead last. There's no one in front of you for 10 minutes. I thought, how about that? I'm the guy coming last in the Sydney Marathon. That is not easy to do. They should give me a trophy for coming last. Like anyone can come first. Anyone can come in the middle of the pack. I'm the guy coming last. They should give me a trophy, an award, but they didn't, because we don't give trophies to losers. This is a meritocracy where you have to earn your trophies. You have to earn your success. So we have to earn our degrees. We have to earn our qualifications. We have to earn our jobs. We have to earn our possessions. And we're also told we can do anything we want to do as long as we believe in ourselves and try hard enough. And so we also have a culture of perfectionism where we should be able to make the perfect sourdough. We should be able to have the perfect body. We should have the perfect holiday. We should have the perfect job. We should have the perfect trophy family. In fact, we should be perfect. And if we're not perfect, it means, well, you didn't believe hard enough. You didn't try hard enough because you should have been perfect. The second thing that empties our mental fitness tank is this. Our lives are maxed out. You heard me before, you know, I have 3 young boys, and my wife and I, we have fallen into the parent trap. We promised ourselves it would not happen, but yes, it's happened. We have fallen into the parent trap. And the parent trap goes like this. And let me see if I get this right. Monday night is martial arts. Tuesday night is clarinet lessons. Wednesday night is football training. Thursday is band. Friday is youth group. Saturday is sports. We are maxed out. We cannot shoehorn any more activities into our busy lives. And even then, some well-meaning parent will say, your kids aren't doing Chinese. I'm sorry, but your kids need to be doing Chinese. If they don't do a foreign language, the 2 parts of the brain don't talk to each other, and they'll be dumb for the rest of their lives. Another person will say, I'm sorry, but the clarinet is not a real instrument. It's only 1 clef. Your kids should be doing the piano. It's 2 hands, 2 clefs. And then again, the 2 parts of the brain will talk to each other. And they're, whoa, we are doing as much as we can. And even then, we don't feel like we're doing enough. This is a nose hair wax kit. Yes, it is now a thing for men and women. And I'm thinking, oh, you are kidding me. One more thing I have to do to get ready. My life is maxed out as it is. And even then, I am not doing enough. When I was a junior doctor working in a major teaching hospital at Westmead, this is what a mobile phone looked like. It was as big as a car battery and as heavy as a brick. It was so big, so impractical that only 1 doctor got to take it home. There was a roster. Only 1 doctor, whoever's rostered on to be on call that night, got to take that home. Only 1 doctor in our department was contactable after hours. The rest of us were uncontactable after hours. But now we're all contactable. We're all on call. Our lives are maxed out. And worse than that, our lives have changed. We're now working from home, or as someone said, no, we're living at work. And now we have to juggle daycare, school drop-off. Both partners are working. Our lives are maxed out. And Sydney traffic, boom, it is back. And apparently it's up before pre-pandemic levels. And as you know, traffic on a Saturday is worse than traffic between Monday to Friday. So we turn up on Monday exhausted from the weekend, ready to start all over again. Number 3, the third thing that empties our mental fitness tank is this. We're always looking, but never finding, because we're not quite sure what we're looking for. Every New Year's, it's the same. We go from party to party, looking for the perfect party, but never finding it. This is Sarah Wilson. She was the editor for Cosmo magazine. She was behind the successful I Quit Sugar campaign. Her whole life has been a series of wins and successes, but she also suffers from anxiety and mental health issues. So she wrote this book, First We Make the Beast Beautiful, to explain what it's like to suffer from anxiety. And she says anxiety is like, she says, well, you know, like you see a dog always circling a pillow or a cushion, looking for the perfect spot to lie down on, but never finding it. So always circling, but never finding the resting spot. She says that's what it's like. You're always circling, looking, but never finding. Maybe that's why we're never present, because we also think maybe something out there is better than what I have going in front of me right now. Somebody out there is more interesting than the people in front of me right now. And so we too are always looking, but never finding. And even if we find what we're looking for, it wasn't what we were looking for. This is Jill Stark, Australian author, successful journalist. She wrote this book, Happy Never After, to describe her experience when she wrote her previous book, and boom, it became a #1 bestseller. And the instant it became #1 bestseller, it sent her into a spiral of depression. And apparently this is very common with authors because they invest their whole life into getting a book published. It comes out, it becomes #1, and then they realize, oh, that's it. I thought there would be something more. So even when we find what we're looking for, it isn't what we're looking for. So there are things that empty our mental fitness tank. So what are things that will fill our mental fitness tank? And we just heard a story from the Bible. It's a story in the life of Jesus. And if you come along, you know, I like to scan the internet and think, okay, what would Jesus look like if he was around today? This is a picture I have found and I'm running with right now, because we know if Jesus was around today, he was not Anglo, he was not a white person. He was also maybe a bit podgy. The Bible says he did like his eating and drinking. He was countercultural, cutting edge. So maybe this is what Jesus will look like today. Today we hear a story in the life of Jesus where Jesus meets two of his friends, Mary and Martha. They are sisters and they invite Jesus into their home for a meal. But Martha is stressed out. She's freaking out. She's trying to put on the perfect meal. Instead, Mary is just of no help, of no use, because she's just present with Jesus in the moment, enjoying Jesus and his teachings. And this stresses out Martha all the more. She's saying, Jesus, 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 say something. Get my sister to help me. So what can we learn from this story? I think we can learn at least 4 things about what can fill our mental fitness tank. Number 1 is this. We don't have to be perfect. I love the way children draw, but I don't get it because we go, oh, isn't that a beautiful drawing? But look, that to me is not a good drawing. That does not look like a human being. I'm so sorry. No human being looks like that. But at the same time, we go, oh, isn't that cute? Isn't that beautiful? Well, what is going on here? So I talked to my pastor who used to be an arts teacher. He says, well, what children have is playfulness. And that's something we lose as we grow up, because as an adult, we can't draw like this anymore. Why? Because my pastor says, because as adults, we strive for perfectionism. So we lose playfulness along the way. This is Will Storr, UK author, not a Christian. He's written this book, Selfie, How We Became So Self-Obsessed and What It's Doing to Us. And in this book, he's trying to explore, he's trying to answer the question, well, why are we so stressed and anxious in the Western world compared to the rest of the world? And he thinks it's because of this reason. He thinks it's because in the Western world, we have this unchallenged mantra that says this. He says, I am perfect and you need to accept me for who I am. And it sounds like a beautiful mantra, but it's had the negative, unintended, flip side consequence that it's created a culture of self-perfectionism where we now have to prove we are perfect so that people will accept us. And we see this with Martha running around trying to put on the perfect dinner party for Jesus. But Jesus comes in the New Testament, in the Bible, and he flips this all around. Because with Jesus, it goes like this. Jesus is perfect, so I don't need to be perfect. So I don't need to pretend to be perfect. And Jesus accepts me just the way I am. So even if others don't accept me the way I am, even if I don't accept myself the way I am, Jesus accepts me just the way I am. And that's why Mary can be present and enjoying Jesus and just in a moment of what the Bible calls shalom, peace, rest. Number 2, the second thing we can learn about this is this. Only control what we can control. In sports psychology, they call it control the controllables. Only control what we can control. My wife is a great driver. She's never had an accident. but I am a horrible passenger in her car because I'm always thinking, oh, what are you doing in this lane? I would have been in this lane. Why are you going this way? I would have taken this way. Why are you turning right? I would have turned left. And so I'm so stressed when I'm in her car, when I need to relax and learn. She is in control. She is in the driver's seat, relaxed. She knows what she's doing. Instead, control what you can control. Maybe put the sun visor down, put the seatbelt on, control the controllables, and trust her with the rest. In life, we only have 3 choices. Choice number 1 is this: everything is out of control. There is no one behind the driving wheel. This universe is random. It's chaos. It came from nothing. It's going to nothing. No one is in control, and that's stressful. Choice number 2 is this: I need to be in control of everything, and that's stressful as well. Or choice number 3 is this: there is someone behind the steering wheel. It's God. He loves me. He'd made me. He knows what's going on. He is in control. I need to control what I can control. I need to control what God has given me responsibility for. But in the end, trust that God has everything under control. And if we can find this choice, it's actually a very wise position to be. Because think about it, most of the major factors in life we cannot control. We actually have no choice over. We cannot control what family we got born into. We cannot control what country we grew up in. We cannot control what school our parents sent us to. We cannot control what questions come up in the exam. We cannot control the economy. We cannot control the health of our parents. And yet these things are the major determining factors on the course of our life. And if we can come to peace with that and realize, you know what? God is in control. It's all right. I control what I can control and trust the rest to God. We will find a peace, a shalom. Number 3, we can practice healthy daily habits. They're habits that we can do every day that fill our mental fitness tank. And this I learned from an episode of Bigger Questions with Dr. Jenny George. How can I be mentally fit? And she says there are a series of activities we can do to make sure we can control the controllables. These are the things we can control, and they all make sense. We need to make sure we have enough sleep, enough exercise, practice mindfulness, get some outdoors time, be generous, give, be thankful, look for purpose and meaning, forgiveness, find forgiveness and forgive, and prayer. And this list, it's not rocket science. You read any book, listen to any expert, whether they're Christian or secular, we all come up with exactly the same list of healthy habits. But I was thinking, you know what? If I'm a Christian, if I have the Christian tradition, if I believe in a loving, powerful God behind this universe, this list makes much more sense and also gives me the truth, factual foundation behind these daily habits. Because sleep, we know that the God of the Bible programmed Sabbath and rest, and even Jesus rested. So somehow sleep is programmed into the rhythm and the DNA of us in the universe. Exercise, well, that makes sense because the physical body is important, so important that Jesus took on our body. He became our species of life on this planet. Mindfulness, being present in the moment. Well, that only makes sense if I know there's a God in control of tomorrow. Otherwise, mindfulness is just gobbledygook. It's just wishful thinking. Outdoors, well, that makes sense if there's a God who programmed beauty into the physical world and not just survival. Giving, being generous, apparently that makes us more fulfilled, happier. Well, that only makes sense if there's a giving, generous God behind the universe. Thankfulness, everyone's saying, oh, thankfulness, we need to be more thankful, practice thankfulness. But that only makes sense if there's a loving, powerful God to be thankful to. Otherwise, who are we being thankful to? A random material universe? Purpose and meaning lead to fulfillment. But that only makes sense if there's a design behind this universe, if there's a designer behind this universe. Because if this universe came from nothing, didn't have to be there, here is going to nothing, well, there is no purpose or meaning behind the universe. Forgiveness, but that only makes sense if there's a forgiving God behind the universe. And prayer, everyone is saying prayer is so important. But again, this only makes sense if there's a loving, powerful God that we are praying to. And number 4, what is your ultimate value? If we're always looking but never finding, well, maybe that's because we don't know what we're looking for. What are we looking for? What is our ultimate value? And we all know this trick. When you travel to dangerous places, you carry a fake wallet. So if you get robbed, you hand over your fake wallet with nothing inside and everything's all okay because this was of no value. Instead, what you had of value was hidden somewhere else because this is ultimate value. I lent my car to my brother many years ago. He crashed it. First thing I wanted to do was to ask him, is the car all right? But I thought, no, do the right thing. Ask, are you all right? Because the car is of no ultimate value to me. Cars come and go. My brother, a human being, is of ultimate value to me. So in the story about Jesus, what is of ultimate value? What is of ultimate value? In the story, Jesus is of ultimate value. Everything else will come and go. Our health will come and go. Friends will come and go. Finances will come and go, but Jesus will not come and go. Jesus is of ultimate value. And if we explore more the Jesus story, we'll find out he is the God who loves us, who made us, who became one of us, who dies for us, who lives for us. His spirit lives in us. We can become part of his family, Team Jesus, and now we become a part of his story, a bigger story, where every day we can spread his love, justice, and mercy on this planet. This is of ultimate value, and nothing can take this away from us. And if we discover this, we will find shalom, peace. So to remember our original question, it was this: how can I find freedom from anxiety? My boys love playing Minecraft, and maybe you know this, but I didn't. There are 2 modes to Minecraft. There is survival mode and there's creative mode. In survival mode, it is crazy. There are zombies, you can fall down holes, there are killer bees, you can die. In creative mode, you're chilled, you're present, you're in the moment, you're creating, you're imagining, you're making beauty. We too have the same choice. We can live in survivor mode where we make these life, death, consequences every day. Or we can be in creative mode, chilled, in the moment, enjoying the presence of Jesus, imagining, creating beauty, and just being mindful and worshiping him as a loving, powerful God behind the universe.
Thank you very much, Sam. This is the time where we have our Q&A, which is very often a very, very helpful part of this session. So we can get your questions. George, I think, can collect written questions. We've got the high-tech way of finding questions. I'll pull out my phone so I can see them. There's 2 on there. There's 2. 2 for the price of 1. So, Sam, it's much easier to ask the questions than to answer them, of course. Sam, are you saying that instead of perfection, we should aim for mediocrity?
I love mediocrity. What it is instead of perfectionism, so just understand, it's that saying that we should do the best we can with what God has given us rather than trying to be the best there is. I think I gave, I won't. So a great story is that story that Jesus gives of the king who gives to his people a different set of talents. This person gets 1, this person gets 3, this person gets 5. And what he just wants them to do is just enjoy the good gifts that God has given us and make the most we can with what God has given us. So to the person one, the king isn't saying, hey, how come you don't have three? To the person with three, how come you don't have five? Instead, do the best we can with what God has given us. And that doesn't mean, and the whole problem with perfectionism is we're comparing ourselves with other people and thinking somehow this is performance-based and somehow my acceptance is based on how well I do. So I think we all just got to find that happy spot where we're doing the best we can with what God has given us.
No, thank you. I think that answered this other question of we as lawyers to not be anxious. Should we just slacken off? But
I don't know, because I'm a doctor, so I don't know what it is for the law profession, but near enough is good enough. Surely, like if you just get
50%
the verdict you want.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. So as we have a saying in medicine, you only need 50% to pass. So 51% is 1% wasted. And whenever I see a patient, I'm always thinking, okay, is this the 50% I got wrong or the 50% I got right? I just can't remember. And we also have this saying, what do you call a med student who got 50% in their exams? You call them doctor. That's all you needed.
Thank you, doctor.
In history, don't we see that great things are often caused by dissatisfaction? So isn't dissatisfaction the basis of most greatness? The motivation, the drive. When you look at the people who have achieved things in the world, great things, they're usually very dissatisfied.
Yeah, so imagining a better possibility, imagining a better future. Yeah, so that's not a bad thing. So I think we're juggling a lot of tensions here. So in the Christian tradition, we have been made in the image of God, and God is someone who created the universe from nothing. And then he puts Adam and Eve in the garden to work the garden. And the whole idea there is they are creating beauty in the garden. They're creating order and logic. So they're bringing something from nothing in the same way God, brought beauty in this universe. So it's in our nature, it's in our DNA to always imagine a better future and to work towards that. So there is a dissatisfaction, but it's the motive. Why do we do what we do? So if we have a good gift from a good God to enjoy, I'm doing this because it's just how he's wired me, and it's my act of worship to God, and it's a way of glorifying God. But if I do this to be somebody, to be perfect in the eyes of others, then I will destroy myself and I will destroy the gift that God has given me.
Some text questions. When exactly did our society lose the plot so badly? For example, pursuing perfectionism, stress, anxiety, etc.
Yeah, so there are many analyses. So one big thing is I remember listening to a young lady on a podcast. She said our parents were told they had to do everything to be successful. And so they work themselves into the ground trying to be successful, and they end up empty, burnt out, unfulfilled. But then this girl said, but what the heck? At least they got a car, a house, and a job out of it. We got told we had to do everything to be happy. And we have exhausted ourselves trying to be happy, because every moment you feel like you're underperforming, you're thinking, am I happy yet? Am I happy yet? Am I happy yet? I'm still not there. And as we know, chasing happiness is like chasing a rainbow. It keeps moving further and further away, because happiness is a byproduct of being fulfilled. So actually what we're looking for is fulfillment. So I think we lost the plot by chasing success. We realized that. So we went happiness. Jennifer Senior, in her book, All Joy But No Fun, says the problem of modern parenting is every parent's trying to make their kids happy, and that's unachievable, unsustainable. So now we're all burnt out, exhausted, stressed, and miserable, both the kids and the parents. The kids aren't happy either, and the parents definitely aren't happy. When really it's like, well, what am I aiming for? And it's fulfillment. But we can only find fulfillment if there's a designer behind the universe. So I think it's when we abandon the idea that there's a loving, powerful God behind this universe, and I can be in a relationship with this loving, powerful God.
Now, Sam, this question isn't designed to make you anxious about a presentation that was, practically perfect, but shouldn't prayer be at the top of the healthy daily habits list?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, because I had it at the bottom, didn't I? Well, bottom because it's the foundation, right? It's
All right, well done. Good exit.
Yeah.
Is the passage about putting God first above the worries of this world?
See, I like the way Tim Keller answers this. He says, often we say, but what about God? What about the Holy Spirit? What about prayer? As if it's something you add to your steak like sauce and salt. Like, shouldn't we have added God or added prayer or added the Holy Spirit? But Tim Keller says, this is just assumed. This is assumed. Like, and I think, yeah, so God is number one. But what does that mean? What does that look like? I think it just assumes that I am in relationship with God, and that's the foundation, and that's just presupposed in all the activities that I do.
All right. Hand the mic over again.
So I've often thought that happiness or pleasure only exists with the contrast of unhappiness or pain. So if you live at a certain level of happiness and pleasure, that then becomes normal. So that then becomes boring, and you need something more interesting and pleasure to have pleasure. Do you think the same? Well, firstly, do you agree with that? And secondly, do you think the same is true with fulfillment?
Yeah, so there's a guy called Paul Nolan, UK writer, not a Christian. He did a PhD in happiness. And so he what was his book? It was called Happiness by Design. So he answers that. He says, yes, it's not just pleasure, it's purpose we're after. There's certain things that are pleasurable, like eating a pizza, watching a movie on a Friday night, but they're not purposeful. So them by themselves end up being a bit empty, unfulfilling if that's all we're doing, when what we're after is purpose. Like, why am I here? And there are many things that aren't pleasurable but are purposeful, like studying for an exam, helping a friend move house, giving birth to a baby, but they lead to a lot of happiness. And so it's purpose that we're really after. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. We need a purpose, like we need a designer behind this universe to make this work. And even what you're saying earlier, there's what they call the hedonic adaptation curve. So someone like Jonathan Haidt, who just put out the happiness hypothesis, apparently we all have a level of happiness, and things might lift it up, but we go back to where we were before. Things might take it away, like an accident, but we go back to where we were before. So apparently Germany did a study on happiness. They got people to rate how happy they were on a scale of 0 to 10. Before they were married, they were like a 3. They meet someone, they're a 5. On the day they got married, they're a 7. 2 years later, they're already back to where they were before. And 5 years later, they're less happy than where they were before here, meaning we adapt to the stimuli that we have. I say it's like the coffee. First coffee I have in the day, I feel amazing. Second coffee, not so amazing. Third coffee in the day, hey, that did nothing. So yes, we recalibrate to stimuli. So it can't just be pleasure that makes us happiness. It has to be purpose as well. Yeah, I think, yeah, you're fulfilled. I'm here. This is where I should be. Yeah. Well, it depends how you measure it. Is this happiness, pleasure? I don't know. I think in the moment, fulfilled. Yeah, I don't know.
I think in the moment, one more question.
Sorry, got a question is that you just now say that how can we best understand that Jesus said that our life value, our ultimate value is Jesus. So Jesus is the love, truth, and the way of life to the eternity. However, in our daily life, we have too many sufferings. And how come Jesus can help us efficiently dealing with those to achieve these good values? For instance, like sickness, failures, defeat, death.
Yeah, so how can having Jesus of ultimate value help us in the daily sufferings like sickness, disease, death? I think many things. One, it gives us the right to say, yes, this is messed up, because if there was no God behind the universe, nothing's messed up, things just are. So if there's a loving, powerful God, we can say to God, hey, this is messed up. Like, if you're a loving, powerful God, this should not happen. And then if there is a loving, powerful God, then we got to trust, okay, there must be a loving, powerful reason for what's going on. I can't understand everything, but there must be something else going on. that makes this loving and powerful. Also to know that Jesus is not detached, but with us in our suffering. So I was listening to a podcast where a lady explained why she became a Christian. She was Asian. She said, I looked at Buddha, and the answer that Buddha has to suffering is detachment. It's not real. It's an illusion. It's only in your head. Get over it. And Buddha himself is not suffering. He's very well fed. Whereas the answer that Jesus gives is, yes, this is suffering. It's real. It's not right. And he comes and suffers on a cross with us. So the image of Jesus is a suffering God. And also knowing that Jesus is not on the cross anymore. He's alive. So there's a future still to come where he will right all wrongs and give an explanation for the suffering.
Thank you. And I'm sorry we're out of time again, but thank you very, very much,
Thanks,
Sam. And in a fortnight, we'll have Sam again in our new location. Some will remember from pre-pandemic times, back at level 2 Law Society. Details again will be provided. There'll be probably a even wider range of hot breakfasts and so forth. And can I also draw your attention to the hope groups that are now up and running? People with other questions, you'll have the feedback forms, the QR codes that can be used. Maybe someone would like to talk about the Bible or stay updated with future events or join a hope group. People here can speak to our own Peter Wrench, to the groups in which people can meet together to think about what we're thankful for, to read a small part of one of the 4 biographies of Jesus, and think about what hope there is for the world. So you can do that you can ask questions about that on the feedback form, or speak to some of the city legal team about that. And we'll look forward to seeing you in a fortnight's time for Sam's final presentation at the Law Society. Thank you very much.